polarization, homophobia and transphobic aggression, violence by police, reproductive oppression. But from the pain we will open eyes, awaken hearts and awaken minds, and that demands we intensify. Strategically we are organized, together we can raise the vibration through our action and imagination, respect, trust and communication, and love for our future generations. Intersectional, inclusive we come, collective power is how this is won. We keep it rising like the fire of the sun, we will rise like the sun, we will rise like the sun. A billion for one, one for a billion, 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 a billion for one, we are rising, we are rising now, and in this life we are rising, we are rising, we are rising now, and in this life we are rising, we are rising, we
Welcome everyone. We have some a video to start us off from the Resistance Choir. So you give me a moment and I'll transition to that. I'm really glad everyone is here.
Echoing that gratitude, welcome, welcome. Thank you to the Texas Youth Justice Ministries intern minister, Sarah Burrell-Harrop, for offering music as we come into the room. We are so glad you're here. Thank you for spending this time with us tonight. This song, This Joy, has been something of a theme song and spiritual sustenance for many of us this year, and so we just invite you to take it in as you also check in the chat. Let us know your name, your congregation. That's perfect.
The world didn't give it to me. Oh, this joy that I have, the world didn't give it to me. Don't you know that this joy that I have, the world didn't give it to me. Oh, I said the world didn't give it, the world can't take it away. Oh, this strength that I have, this strength that I have, this strength that I have. Oh yeah, now the world didn't give it to me. The world didn't give it to me. This strength that I have. Oh yeah, the world didn't give it to me. The world didn't give it to me. This strength that I have. Oh yeah, the world didn't give it to me. Oh, I said the world didn't give it, the world can't take it away. Oh, this love that I have, this love that I have. Oh yeah, now the world didn't give it to me. The world didn't give it to me. This love that I have. Oh yeah, the world didn't give it to me. Don't you know that this love that I have, yeah, the world didn't give it to me. Singing, the world didn't give it, the world can't take it away. Oh, this pride that I have, this pride that I have, this pride that I have. Oh yeah, now the world didn't give it to me. The world didn't give it to me. This pride that I have, I said the world didn't give it to me. Don't you know that this pride that I have, yeah, the world didn't give it to me. Oh, I said the world didn't give it, the world can't take it away. All this peace that I have, oh, yeah. The world didn't give it to me. The world didn't give me my peace that I have. Oh yeah, now the world didn't give it to me. Won't you sing about peace? This peace that I have. said the world didn't give it to me. Don't you know that this joy that I have, the world didn't give it to me. Oh, I said the world didn't give it, the world can't take it away. The world didn't give it and the world can't take it away. The world didn't give it, the world can't take it away. The world didn't give it and the world can't take it away. The world didn't give it, the world can't take it away. The world didn't give it and the world can't take it away. The world didn't give it, the world can't take it away.
Welcome, welcome again. I'm the Reverend Erin Walter, the minister and executive director of your Texas Unitarian Universalist Justice Ministry. That's you in the spirit of celebration tonight. If you have anything sparkly or fun or shiny handy, we welcome you to wear it. We welcome you to take care of yourself tonight during this time. We're going with the flow a little bit. If you need to take a bio break, if you need to go get your snacks, whatever you need to do, this is your time, and we are so happy to celebrate this year with you. So I am going to light our chalice, and I'm going to do an adaptation of how we used to light our chalice when I was a youth at First Unitarian Universalist Church of Austin, the congregation that hosted our in-person reunion in January. And it goes like this. We light the light of liberation. It is the light of our coming together, to see new faces, to think new thoughts, to feel new love. Blessed be and welcome. So thank you for checking in the chat. I invite you all to take a look around at these beautiful faces in the Zoom, at the names and context of where everyone is coming from tonight. There's nothing like being part of the TXUUJM Justice Ministry. We often say among our partners, yesterday I was meeting with one of our partners from Faith in Texas. Texas is like 5 states. And so for us to come together from all over but one is really special. And thank you for being here with us. So we're celebrating and we're honoring the very big year that it's been. We've had a lot of grief, a lot of struggle, and we stay in it by being close to our faith and to each other. Before we continue, I want to invite our wonderful congregational and justice organizer, Michelle Venegas Matula, who has now been with us almost 1 year. We gained Michelle this year, so that's one of the things that we're celebrating this year. I'd like to invite Michelle to do the land acknowledgement. Thank you, Michelle.
Thank you, Reverend Erin. Taiwei Nanichi. Hello, beloveds. Like Reverend Erin said, I am Michelle Venegas Matula, and I use she, ella pronouns, and I am your congregation and justice organizer for TXUUJM Justice Ministry. We begin by acknowledging that we gather today on the ancestral lands and often stolen lands of the indigenous peoples who have lived here before us. We recognize the enduring presence and deep traditional knowledge of the Apache, Caddo, Comanche, Cahuiltecan, Eastern Pueblo, Umano, Karankawa, Kiowa, Wichita, and all other Native nations where we reside today in Texas, named and unnamed. We have been stewards who have been stewards of this land through generations. We pay our respects to the indigenous elders, past, present, and emerging. Some of us may call them ancestors and relatives. Some of us here may call them our friends, collaborating together in solidarity. As we work towards creating spaces of radical welcoming and building beloved community, as we learned about during our trans-inclusion workshops, let us remember the histories of those that have been marginalized and strive to build bridges of understanding, respect, and love in our Unitarian Universalist communities. Land acknowledgements are a mere beginning. We encourage you to learn more, be in relationship, find actionable, accountable ways to support our Indigenous communities. May we always be aware of the intersections of our histories and continue our journey towards justice together. Thanks.
Thank you, Michelle. All right. Before we share with you some of the things that the team pulled together for celebrating and looking back at the year, I'd like to invite each of you to share something that you are celebrating this year from our justice work, from your congregation's work. I'm dropping it in the chat, but the question is, what do you celebrate from yours or our justice work this year? And I'm going to allow quiet time for you to think about it and for you to answer in the chat and read your sibling UU's answers to. What is something that you celebrate from our work together this year? Welcome to those who are just arriving. We are asking you to share in the chat, and we are taking some quiet time to think and to read the responses to this question. What do you celebrate from your justice work, your congregation's justice work, or our collective state action this year? It can be a little thing, it can be a big thing. And for those who are just coming in or who can't see the chat, I'm going to read a few. From Carrie, the community we built and the communities we became a part of. From Jerry in the Brazos Valley, holding back school vouchers so far. From Julia, trans youth joy and connection despite all the heartache and grief. We gathered in places like our UU churches and U Bar U. From Sandy, our radical welcome task force formed after the transgender inclusion and congregations workshop. Coming together at the Capitol from Lindy, where every one of us were strangers no more. The positive solidarity was wonderful. Amen. Deepening our connections, Michelle says, to each other and our community partners throughout Texas. From Dale, our efforts with fighting all the horrible legislation and the never-ending legislative session. Yes. From Joel at Horizon, TXUUJM became people to watch out for at the state capitol. That's right, my friend. We are indeed. From D, the incredibly strong partnerships with TXUUJM that we have with our organizations, other organizations fighting for justice. Sandy, successful maternal health care bill, working in tandem with other churches. Wendy, supporting trans youth. Megan, thankful for the work with Texas Impact and Equality Texas. Leo, an active social justice council at our church that works hard to keep our congregants informed and engaged. Yes. And reading these out loud is good because we're recording tonight for those who couldn't be here. So they won't be able to read the chat, but they can hear what you're saying. Celebrating community UU church in Plano coming together and moving forward after the attack on the building. Yes. And I have some beautiful photos of the cards that you all sent to Plano that I need to post on our Facebook and share with you all. But we are with you, community UU. Carrie Stewart says, I celebrate TXUUJM's renewed purpose, connection, and action From Reverend Ade Krabah, the most joyful event for me this year has been the call, a day's call to settle at her congregation, UU New Braunfels. We celebrate that with you. Oh, so much joy. Welcome to all the ministers who are new to Texas or who've been called to new congregations. We're so happy that you're here. From Belinda Montgomery, I celebrate the UU folks who consistently showed up at the Capitol, grateful to see your yellow shirts and feel the wave of love in a hateful place. Belinda is one of our friends from another faith, but we work closely together, and I'm so glad you're here, Belinda. All right, Art, this year, the UU Church motivated me to become a leader in my far South Austin Democratic precinct and fight for school finance, trans issues, and social justice. Yes. I love to hear when people are taking their UU faith out into their communities and fighting for democracy and human rights. From Heather Malkawi, an intern minister between TXUUJM and Texas Impact, the connections and friendships made through our work and passions and the engagement in border work. And from Jan Riolini from our board, the growing community of caring activists. I'm in awe of you and feel connected to you. And here comes Taylor Huntley, our BIPOC organizing intern, also saying, holding those intentional spaces for BIPOC UUs across Texas. Wow, y'all, that is so much to celebrate. Can you take that in? I'm going to stop talking and just give us a moment to take that in. You did that. You did all that, and you're doing that, and it makes a difference, and we need it. Thank you so much for sharing. Sarah, may I ask you to put up our slide, the first one with some of our board and advisory council, and we're going to talk about this incredible year that we had. Welcome again to our year-end celebration. That graphic that you see was designed by one of our members, Salwa Ashrari, and I thank her again for that. So welcome again. Thank you to all of our leaders and partners. I wanted to highlight for you just a few. I cannot tell you how hard it was to choose pictures for the slideshow. Thank you to our volunteer, Julia Hall-Rain, for doing most of it. Otherwise, I would not have been able to do it. But I want to say big thanks to our board and advisory council. If you're a board member or advisory council member and you're here, hooray. You see some of them in these pictures. To our fellow UU ministers and colleagues, religious professionals across the state, our partner organizations, the Action Hour team, our donors, our program participants, volunteers, and justice-seeking friends, that's you. So thank you all for being here. That's just a snapshot of who all is represented in this Zoom room tonight, and every single one of you is so important to this organization. So let's start with January. The agenda for tonight is we're going to look back and celebrate the year. You're going to hear a little bit from the team, and then we're going to welcome our wonderful keynote speaker, Alex Kapitan. Alex is going to give a talk, and then you're going to have a chance to have Q&A with Alex. And then we're going to give you a preview, a lot of save the dates and exciting things that are coming from TXUUJM in 2024. So hang with us for this hour and a half or so. We also have social time at the end if you want to stay and just visit. And we're also recording, but we hope you can stay with us. All right, January. Look at all those wonderful people. I want to let Michelle in just a minute talk about our volunteers, but here's our group of folks who gathered at the 10-year reunion celebration, our first in-person gathering since COVID. We celebrated Reverend Chuck Freeman and his service as founder. We had a wonderful array of presenters, particularly on topics of reproductive justice and abortion rights, community organizing and abolition from young adults at our partners, Mono Amiga. And then we had joy practices from Simone Monique Barnes, and we had Josh Houston speak with us about democracy and how we advocate at the Capitol and in our electoral work. It was a robust gathering, and we have some of those talks on video. So if you missed it, tune into our YouTube in the next couple of weeks as we finally will have some time to be uploading some of those talks. But thank you so much to everyone who came to that event. You can see a lot of us right there, and to First UU Austin who hosted. That was January, and it took a lot of work. If you were a volunteer for that one, thank you. Here's some of our speakers. There's our youth caucus. All right, I would like to turn it over to our organizer, Michelle Venegas Matula, who joined us in January, had to hit the ground running, and helped plan this incredible, largest legislative action day that we've ever had.
Yeah, it really was jumping into the deep end, and I couldn't have done it without all the help and support from our volunteers. Y'all were amazing. We had I started about January 2nd was my official start date. We had our 10-year anniversary like a couple of weeks later. And right from that point on, we were focused on making sure that our Legislative Action Day was going to be a success and something that was meaningful and nourishing and really lifted up our UU values in the public square. And we had around 150 participants that came from all over Texas. We had a busload of folks come from North Texas. We had people from San Antonio and Houston and just all over. And we are just so grateful for all of you that made that journey, made that trip, and really made it one of our most successful legislative action days that TXUUJM has had. It was our first ever youth caucus. Oh my goodness, it was such an amazing group of young people that were so courageous, and they were just such deep gratitude for their patience with me as I tried to bring that together, and big, deep appreciation for their guardians that helped support them in being able to participate, in our chaperones and our youth chaplains that were there to support if anything should happen, that they needed to get some pastoral care while there. But it was amazing, and really looking forward to some more things soon. We visited around 50 House Rep offices and 20 Senate offices, and we dropped cards to support trans youth athletes. And dropping those cards made such a difference. Our partners, Equality Texas, said, like, if we had not been there doing that, the numbers would have looked so much different. But because we were there doing that, we outnumbered the cards that were supporting anti-trans legislation by a lot. So I can't remember exactly the percentages right now, but I just remember it was a huge show of support, and it was because of our UUs being there. And then we had this beautiful rally with our partners for Black maternal health, where Reverend Erin got to speak, and in support of passing extended Medicare coverage for post-natal care. But I just want to give my huge appreciation for all those that volunteered. The planning committee, I co-facilitated that, co-led that with Sarah Burrell-Harrop. She was an amazing partner. She knows so much about legislature and about the people representing us, and so grateful to have her by my side in putting that together. But then those that signed up to volunteer, those that had done it before, that were able to bring in that wisdom from previous, and also those that made all the calls to make appointments so that we had places to visit and had appointments with our representatives. So just thank you for making it such an amazing legislative action day, and a really great start to my work with TXUUJM. So thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. We're going to move through some of the slides. Really, again, appreciation to all of the volunteers. Sarah, I'm just going to ask you to kind of move along with me. Here's some photos from the day. You might see some of your faces. And I really also want to appreciate everyone's flexibility as we were coming back to the Capitol for the first time since the pandemic. Everyone was relearning how to do that. Everyone was trying to come back. the need for just having some emergent strategy, as Adrienne Marie Brown would say, in our work is really crucial right now. So thank you for that. Let's keep moving through. These are some of the bills that we worked on. Michelle in particular was alongside families from Uvalde during this time. Such deep grief, and really heartbreaking, the lack of responsiveness from some of the legislators, but that being there for each other and showing up for people in these moments is a big part of what our work is. Can we keep going forward? Thank you. Here's our UU representative, Donna Howard, who we've worked closely with for a long time at TXUUJM. The gun safety billboard campaign did pass through the House, and we will keep working on these issues. Some of your congregations have or will soon have a gun violence memorial display through our partnership with Texas Impact. And we will be sharing some of those images and videos on our Facebook soon. We can keep going. There's so much to cover this year. One of the bills that we helped defeat was SB 2209, which would have ended civilian oversight of police. So we felt like that was a very important one, and we'll keep going. Thank you. Oh boy. So I did a lot of work speaking and doing interviews, and we all did a lot of work around these issues that have to do with our schools, the separation of church and state. One of the bills that we defeated was this displaying of the 10 Commandments in public school classrooms. I want to thank all of you who are still doing the work of talking to your school boards about chaplains. That is an issue that will be carrying forth for several months. All of the school boards have to make decisions on that. So we have been in communication with you about that. If you're wanting more information, you can always reach back to us at TXUUJM at gmail.com. But following Texas Impact's work, all of these issues related to schools are always about the separation of church and state for us as well. So that one was a big win. Yep, we'll keep going. The Crown Act was another one that was very important. And I appreciate all of you who made calls, who signed petitions. This has to do with our top issue of racial justice here at TXUUJM, prohibiting racial discrimination in the workplace. And then in our next slide, this is one that I think is really an important story that we all go back and tell. So much harm, so much pain around the more than 100 bills that were anti-LGBTQ, particularly anti-trans. And the coalition was able to defeat 95% of them. And you all are such a big part of that. And the 5% that made it through, we keep fighting through through lawsuits, through the court of public opinion. We take care of each other. We educate our congregations on how these laws are changing. Some of you have been in touch with me to the Texas Civil Rights Project and our legal advisors. If you ever need legal advice on what you can and can't do in your congregations regarding drag shows and things like that, we're here to support you with that information. But I want you to please take back to your congregations the amount of success that we had in defeating these bills, and that we are continuing to work on the 5% that did get through. So thank you all for all the ways that you showed up. And there was quite a few of you in these pictures. I see a certain coat on one of my children in one of those, but a lot of you were in those rallies. I see your yellow shirts. I see your beautiful faces, and thank you so much for all the ways that you showed up. All right, we'll keep rolling. We talked already about HB 12, a year of postpartum healthcare. The coalition did it. You did it. So please, please keep celebrating that. School vouchers removed from the bill through amendment. We'll keep fighting on that one. It's very, very, very important. Thank you for all the work. Jane Collins in North Texas, getting all the folks from the congregation to sign the letters. So many of you getting people to sign the letters. You did it. It's happening. And that was a day where I wasn't thinking we were going to win, and you won it for us. I really believe that. So thank you. All right, let's keep going through. That's November. So we're here. We're in November. We recently returned from the border witness trip. A very powerful experience. I was able to testify at committee the very next day. One of the folks who traveled spoke to her congregation about the experience the very next Sunday. Folks are working on how they're going to take what they've faithfully witnessed and use those experiences to engage our congregations in work that supports our immigrant neighbors, that supports a demilitarization of our communities at the border. So we thank our partners, Texas Impact, for taking us on that very meaningful trip. And this is a moment where I want to thank Heather Malkawi. We have been very blessed, and you can leave it on this slide, to partner with Texas Impact and support Heather's call to ministry and path to ordination. Like Sarah Burrell Harrop, who many of you know because Sarah's been working with us now in her second year of internship. Heather has been spending this year with us working with Texas Impact, making sure we have the answers on issues when we've been at the Capitol, but also leading in this border witness work. Heather, will you wave and we can just appreciate you in this moment? She's here on the call. But thank you. Yeah. Our seminarians at the end of the semester, much like your ministers, your executive directors, and your activists, are tired. And I just want to celebrate the work that you've done. And I hope that the end of your semester is smooth. We're so proud to be a teaching organization and to be supporting seminarians and intern ministers on their path. Your work is vital. Your ministry is vital. Thank you, Heather. All right, let's keep going. Programming. So we're taking a lot of action together in this organization, but we also have programming. I was talking with Edwin from Faith in Texas yesterday, and he said, I went to one of the BIPOC circles last weekend. It was really wonderful. And I was sitting there listening, and I was thinking, are they working on changing the world, or are they working on changing Unitarian Universalism and themselves? And he said, and then I realized it's both. And it is. The eighth principle is about transforming our systems and ourselves and our congregations, and our programming is about that too. So just to highlight a few things here, and I want to invite Sarah to talk about Action Hour. We've got the Action Hour slide up. The Action Hour team has done incredible work all year. Sarah, would you like to talk about that a bit?
Oh, yeah. Do you want, well, let's see. So let me go on to the next slide.
Perfect.
All right, so some of the things that we did this year, just to remind you, is that we did a webinar on Texas Ledge 101. Hopefully we'll do that again next odd year. And then we had a really great conversation with Paula Cole-Jones about the eighth principle and the doctrine of discovery. And I'm actually going to leave the calm sessions for someone else to talk about because I didn't participate in that. But Action Hour. So Action Hour was every Thursday, and we took action in community. And one of the cool things about Action Hours is that when there were emergent things that happened, we were able to have that space. So for example, we had Ms. Juanita Harris, who is an activist in segregation in the justice system, and she visited in a very powerful Action Hour. We had an Action Hour demanding a ceasefire in Palestine, and there was a special death penalty Action Hour where Tiara Cooper from the Texas Coalition to Abolish the Death Penalty came to visit us. And so that's been a really successful program. And our We Cry Justice community also was a really successful and soulful community where we did theological reflection together. Did you want me to talk about the trans inclusion? Or I know we're also going to give some time for Alex, but I just really want to give a plug about it. I want to give kudos to the groups that engaged the programs themselves. And then we had two virtual cohorts that Heather and I facilitated one, and Carrie Holly Hurt and Michelle Venegas Matula facilitated another one of those. And I want y'all to know how unique and valuable that this program is. If you haven't started it in your congregation, check with us. There's so many ways that you can do it. I think when people think of it as okay, I'll get with my DRE, we'll figure out when to get it in the curriculum. But this is leadership development. This is something that your board can take, your greeters and ushers can take. It doesn't have to be a big program that you do through your RE map. And you can identify the people who need to see it and do a small group and just do it iteratively because of the way that our arrangement and the way that we've compensated Transforming Hearts gives your congregation access for the lifetime of the course. And so this is a really, really important program that goes so much beyond Trans 101 into what Reverend Erin was saying about transforming culture. We need to unveil and see what's inside of our culture so that we can figure out how to transform it. Yeah, I think that's all the ones that I would say about in terms of our programming.
Thank you, Sarah. Thank you so much for your work. The Action Hour team, Sarah led that as part of her ministerial internship, and our volunteers on that team have been amazing. The comm session was a session for the end of the church year led by some UU young adults. And if you're interested in those sessions, they are ongoing, and I can get you information about that. But one of the things that we're very clear about here at TXUUJM is that we are taking care of each other. We are taking time for our spirits, for our bodies. And one of the reasons we did the comm session is just to honor that as we were closing out the church year back in June. And let's see what's next on our slides. We're almost to our keynote speaker, who
I think that was the last one.
Is it?
Oh, no, there's one more.
Awesome.
This is an important one. I'm going to kick it to Michelle.
Well, and maybe Taylor. Taylor, I think I saw you on the call. Do you want to tell us a little bit about the drum socials?
Yes. Hi, everyone. I'm Taylor Huntley, and like Reverend Erin said earlier, I am the BIPOC organizer, and the social gatherings have been amazing. We have supported close to 25 participants. Oh, I hear my children coming up the stairs. We have supported close to 25 participants, and we still have Houston, our last social, maybe. We might have more, but as of right now, our last social that is planned is in Houston this Saturday from 2 to 4. I'm going to drop that link in the chat. And for anybody that's interested in attending or knows someone that might be interested in attending, please send it out to them. But the gatherings have been beautiful. Everyone has shared so openly and genuinely, and it's been such an enjoyable time facilitating these and getting to meet everyone via email. I will pass it over to Michelle.
Yeah, thank you, Taylor. I mean, it was just been such a meaningful time where we've been able to gather and share our stories, our histories, our joys and concerns that we've had, and really just help nurture and ground us in our UU faith and in our identities, and really celebrate that. So grateful to Taylor for all her hard work in organizing this, as well as our support folks, our non-BIPOC, European descent allies and compatriots that helped in nourishing us with physical food, helped us with setup, helped us in cleanup. So we really appreciated that support as well. So it's just been really meaningful. And like Taylor said, I just encourage, if you know anyone in the Houston area, to let them know that we're coming their way this Saturday.
Thank you all so much. I want to acknowledge the UU Service Committee, whose grant funded the BIPOC organizing intern position, and let you know that the fundraising that we're doing right now at the end of the year, the Faithify campaign that's going on right now, is going to help us determine where we can grow in staffing and hopefully increase some positions. So a plug for providing support financially at this time of year. And thank you to everyone who made donations coming here. Here's a little snippet of congregational visits all over our big state. We are trying to get to every single congregation in person on a rotation. You see Reverend Aday at her congregation. You see myself making some music with Kaya at the installation in Bryan College Station. You see some of the ministers you know. There's our board member, Lisa Rocket, speaking at Emerson, part of our Speakers Guild. And then down there in the bottom middle is our congregation in Lufkin. If you're not sure where all the UU congregations in Texas are, I highly recommend that you check out our website, TXUUJM.org, and see where it says Texas UU congregations. It's incredible to see where your sibling UUs are all around this big state. So we want to come and see you, and we're working on it, and we look forward to coming and seeing you in 2024. And I think with no further ado, we'll look forward to 2024 after we hear from Alex Kapitan. Now, I can't say enough about my appreciation for Alex as a colleague and friend to this organization, to justice work in Texas and all around our country and Unitarian Universalism and the world, frankly. I want to announce here in celebration a gift that the Transforming Hearts Collective, which is Alex's organization, is making to TXUUJM next year. In recognition of our ongoing relationship, they are making a grant toward our next intern minister and the work that that person will be doing. So we're very, very excited. We thank the Transforming Hearts Collective for the relationship with them and the ongoing work that we're doing together. And it's been amazing to share their work with you. A little bit about Alex, real quick, for those of you who might not have been following along in the newsletter. Let's see, where did Alex's bio go? Hang in there. Here we go. Alex Kapitan is a trainer, speaker, consultant, editor, and anti-oppression activist. Alex worked for 8 years at the national headquarters of the Unitarian Universalist Association, supporting anti-racism and welcoming congregation programming for congregations and managing large-scale social justice organizing efforts. Alex also recently served on the steering committee for Trust, an organization of transgender Unitarian Universalist religious professionals. Alex's writing can be found in anthologies, including Falling into the Sky, Becoming, and Justice on Earth, as well as the blog Roots Grow the Tree, and my personal favorite, The Radical Copy Editor. Welcome to Alex, who lives in Greenfield, Massachusetts. We are so honored for you to be our keynote speaker for TXUUJM's 2023 year-end celebration. Woo woo!
Thank you. Yay. What Erin didn't mention is that I'm also sick. For those who got the Mean Girls reference, I'm sick. But I'm still excited to be here. I took a nap today so that I could still have energy tonight to come speak with you. It's just a cold, but it won't go away. It sounds worse than it is. But I'm so happy to be here with you all. And yay, Texas, y'all are rocking it. I'm so excited that I got to see and hear about all the amazing things that you all have been up to this year. I knew a piece of that, but not all of it. And it's just so inspiring. So thank you to all the amazing people who are running things at TXUUJM. And thank you to all of you for being part of this incredible movement of UUs for social justice in Texas. It's just so amazing. I don't have any prepared remarks. I wanted to just speak off the cuff with you a little bit about what it means to me that Unitarian Universalists are showing up for trans folks right now in the ways that you are, and then give you a chance to ask me questions or share what you're up to with each other, that kind of thing. So let's see. I would love to know if you have access to the chat and want to share how many of you all are part of a congregation that is engaging with our trans inclusion in congregations program, or if you did it with TXUUJM this year. If you feel like sharing that, I'd love to know how many of you that is true for, because I have a feeling that's true for a lot of you. And while you're doing that, thanks, Heather. Heather goes, ooh, me. That's wonderful. So exciting. Thank you so much to everyone who has engaged in that program. You just heard a little bit about it. I have been a Unitarian Universalist almost my entire life. I was raised a UU, starting from the age of 6 in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And what that gave me, the gift that being raised UU gave me, was freedom from religious violence. My community, my chosen family, is almost entirely made up of LGBTQ faith leaders from many different faiths, because I do a lot of interfaith organizing nationally. And that's where most of my people are. That's who my people are, among many other my peoples. But I'm rare amongst my chosen family in that I am a queer trans person who has not experienced religious violence. That is no small thing. It meant that and being UU and the UU values that I was raised with, I credit to a large degree with my ability to be my full authentic self as a queer and trans and non-binary person from a relatively young age. That is massive. That is life-saving, honestly. Our religion saves lives. It saved mine. I don't know where I would be if I hadn't been raised UU, if I hadn't had the support of that community, if I hadn't seen trans people in my congregation growing up who were just ordinary folks living their lives, right? As opposed to what I was seeing on TV, which was, that was the Jerry Springer era of trans visibility, as I'm sure most of you remember. And still, even though Unitarian Universalism has this incredibly saving message, I was still frustrated as I grew up. This religion gave me so much as a young person, particularly as a youth in our youth programming at the time. And when I became an adult and was expected to bridge into the adult church, I didn't experience the same sort of spiritually fulfilling and radical practice of our faith that I had experienced as a teenager. And I started to wonder if the commitment that Unitarian Universalism had made to people like me was for real. You know what I mean? Whether it was something that we were going to continue to live into as a religion, because my parents joined in 1990. It was the same year that the Welcoming Congregation program began. So for the entire 30 plus years that I've been a UU, Unitarian Universalism has told me that we are a different kind of faith, that we are truly and fully radically welcoming of people of all sexual orientations, gender identities, and all of those people, right? And I started to worry that maybe that was not entirely what we wanted as a faith, whether we were going to fall down on that commitment. And for a long time, I think a lot of our congregations sort of did rest on our laurels a little bit. We were active in particular ways, but when it came to trans people, when it came to LGBTQ people of color, when it came to low income, disabled, queer and trans folks, in other words, when it came to people who were marginalized in multiple ways, we were really struggling in our congregations to find that sense of home and that life-saving message. So the thing that makes me so happy is that I am seeing us as a movement, and particularly Texas UUs, say, wait a second, we do mean it. We do mean what we committed to 30 years ago, and we are showing up for trans and non-binary folks of all ages, races, classes, abilities and disabilities, all kinds of backgrounds. That's the religion that I was raised to be a part of, and that gave me life when I was a kid and continues to give me life today. So thank you so much for showing me and showing our whole movement and our whole world that Unitarian Universalism is a place where queer and trans people can find a home and can find community and can find allies and advocates and folks who will be there alongside us as we fight against this awful onslaught against our lives and well-being in this moment. So that's what I wanted to say. And I will also just say, because if I don't, someone will probably tell me to, a little bit about the program for those of you who haven't experienced it. My best friend and I, Reverend Michael Slack, and I created this program a number of years ago, largely because we were tired of being asked to do trans 101s and seeing that not change anything in terms of the actual experiences of trans and non-binary people in our congregations. We felt as though there was a desire for intellectual mastery over things like vocabulary, right? I don't care if you know the dictionary definition of the word genderqueer. I care if you care about my well-being, right? And I knew, and Michael knew, that we don't need to intellectually understand each other to love each other and to show up for one another. So we set out to create a program that actually sought to be spiritually grounded and rooted in the things that we, as people who are religious professionals within Unitarian Universalism and also UUs with marginalized identities, knew that we needed in congregations in terms of what culture shift looks like, as opposed to just superficial changes when it comes to radical welcome. So we sort of set out to create a program that was a bait and switch to get people talking about white supremacy culture. Sorry, not sorry. That was really what we set out to do. We knew that in order for Michael, who is a Black trans man, and me, who is a white non-binary person, to actually find the home that we have been promised in Unitarian Universalism, we need Unitarian Universalists to engage with culture and white supremacy culture in particular. That's the thing that's keeping me from finding a home. It's not superficial stuff about pronouns and bathrooms, even though that stuff is really important too. So if you take this program, you'll find that there are 6 sessions, each of which includes a lecture pre-recorded by Michael and I, and a short list of supplemental resources that can help you dig deeper, and reflection or discussion questions. And the first 2 sessions are about grounding in our values and in spiritual practice of radical welcome and our histories when it comes to gender. The second 2 sessions, middle 2 sections, are about trans identity and experience and spirituality and the sort of landscape of all of that. And then the final 2 sessions are about culture and culture shift and how to understand the culture of our congregations, and then how to ensure that that culture actually represents our best values instead of just stuff we've osmosified from our mainstream culture without intention. So that's the general structure of the program. And our hope is that it gives people really concrete skills that you can use to expand your congregation's practice of welcome further and further and further, so that eventually we can say to our people who are trans women of color living below the poverty line with HIV, there's a lot of our folks, a lot of my friends, and I want to be able to say to those folks, you can go to your UU congregation and get the support and the welcome that you need. And I'm not so sure about that with some of our congregations right now. So that's the goal of this program, is to say, once those who are most marginalized amongst us feel radically welcome in our spaces, all of us will feel that same sense of welcome, and we will all have grown and deepened as a result of the relationships that we have had along the way. So that's my spiel. Hope you like it. And I will stop there and ask if folks have questions or comments or things to share. I'm just catching up on the chat.
Yes, I'll let you catch up on the chat. Alex, thank you so much. I want to invite people to raise their hand using the reactions button if you have a question or a comment. And while you're thinking about your questions or your comments for Alex, I want to name number one, that we love Alex's partner, Reverend Michael Slack, so much and would gladly have brought Michael into this as well. But Reverend Michael was very, very busy when we took on this project. Please take our love back to Reverend Michael as well. And I want to extend our love to Live Oak UU Endowment and North Texas UU congregations, whose grants funded the curriculum piece of this partnership. TXUUJM donors, congregations, and volunteers made the rest of this possible, because the staff time that it takes to communicate with 40-something UU congregations about the possibility of a program is also a lot. So I thank our donors, and I thank those two endowments for the grants. And so just to be clear, you have access to this, Texas UUs, in perpetuity. And as Sarah highlighted, you can do it for leadership development among your staff, your board. You could do it every year. We're never going to just go, check. We've successfully eradicated white supremacy culture. We've successfully, welcomed everyone perfectly. That's not it. And so this program is there for us to spiritually deepen always. Carrie Stewart, thanks for your hand.
There we go. Thanks, Erin. Hi, Alex. It's great to see you.
You too.
So I worked with Alex back when they were at UUA. So, I've been doing this work a long time, and I just want to let you know. I just wanted to let you know that. So I didn't hear anything that was brand new to me in the program, but the way that you said some things, I heard in a new way that made a huge impact. And I'll never forget it. And it really, I understood in a deeper way and in a new way about what inclusivity really means. And I'm getting emotional. So I just really want to thank you for that. And I'm on the Racial Equity Task Force at our church, which is all about ending white supremacy. And I told the task force, I said, we are going to sponsor doing trans inclusion, because like you said in the program, when the folks most on the margins feel included, then everybody's included. So
thank you so much. Thank you for sharing that. And I was remiss for not lifting up how freaking incredible it is that TXUUJM has purchased this program for every single congregation in Texas and equitably compensated us for that. So when you donate to TXUUJM, you are supporting this kind of incredible ministry of literally giving back to your congregation these incredible resources. So thank you so much for that, Reverend Erin, and to Live Oak and the other folks who contributed to make that possible. It's just phenomenal.
Thank you, Alex. Well, it's very important to us that we compensate folks for their labor and their work. And so again, I thank those of you who've been part of that. Welcome, Arlen from El Paso. Great to see you. I see your hand.
Yeah, a couple of things. And as we've been sort of talking about in the chat a little bit, I think OWL was so important for at least our community's evolution around trans issues, because we had a generation, a small generation, we're not a big congregation, but we had a group of kids that grew up in a social space where it was normalized for gender not just to be, oh, there's boys and there's girls,
Right.
It was and a group of kids who grew up together and went through their different identities as they figured it all out. and, you know, who were a community. It wasn't like it gets to be the aughts and it's the first trans person they ever encountered in their life, you know. But that kind of thing, of course, takes time. Actually, I had kind of a question for the group, because we had a little bit of a failure of inclusion in my congregation this week, and I wondered. We had a lot of visitors, and Reverend Erin was there too, which was great. But we had one visitor who left feeling upset, and felt like, I reached out to him, and he felt like a lot of the talk of inclusion he felt like was BS, because his family had a very bad experience with the UU Church in Las Cruces.
Oh.
And it was bad. But I felt like now he is, like, on the one hand, super skeptical of all things UU, but also came to church that day, but then ended up feeling upset. And I don't know, it was complicated. And I felt like I didn't maybe handle it as well as I could have, or I want to make him feel better and don't know how.
Yeah, I see a lot of people nodding. Can folks relate?
I didn't mean to come and bring down.
No, it's great. This is what we're here for.
But I just felt like I could use some help.
Has anyone encountered a similar kind of experience and has any words to share or wisdom? Things you tried that failed or succeeded?
He said something about, he is also, I don't know, if slightly autistic. I think he would consider himself autistic. Also very brilliant guy.
Yeah.
But felt discriminated against, or generally feels discriminated against, when people talk about the importance of feeling, not thinking. Because he's a thinking guy. And when he posed that, I was kind of like, okay, I had to think about that a little bit, but it was worth giving some thought, you know.
Yeah.
And
Julia, did you have something to offer, Orlin, or do you have a different question?
Oh no, I was just gonna, on what she was saying.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, so we've had similar-ish situations happen at First Austin. I'm the childcare coordinator there, and so I work in the nursery, and at times parents will say things to me that perhaps aren't getting all the way up to ministerial staff, because they're like, "You're a kid." I'm 22, but it's fine. And so I think that, like, one of the things, like, I've suggested that parents do is that, like, you can't fix someone's experience, and someone's gonna, like, come around to it on their own time. And if they're going to, great. And if they had a shitty experience and then they're sworn off all things UU, okay, cool, like, that sucks, but, like, we can't fix it. And so, like, making sure that, like, we honor their experience, and that we're just, like, we're not trying to be like, oh, but we're not like that, but we're not like that, because, like, that was their experience, and so we are like that because that is what happened. And so, like, making sure that, like, you're keeping that in mind. But then also, one of the things that, like, I found to be useful with the parents who have had harder experiences, especially the folks who grew up in Unitarian Universalism and are coming back with their kids and are like, pardon, is trying to, okay, like, if you know the congregation, especially, like, connecting them with specific people in the congregation who not even necessarily have similar experiences, but, like, work on the similar wavelength. And so, like, I've had parents who, oh, XYZ experience, and so I'll be like, oh, you know, I have this other parent who has a kid of a similar age to you. Let me go introduce y'all when we're doing, like, the coffee and stuff after service. Or, like, oh, one of the ministers, because First Austin has had like 800 ministers in the last 2 years, it feels like. But one of the ministers who we have here today, right now, actually might have, like, interesting insight, rather than just being like, oh, in general, UUism, la 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 la. It can feel very, like, not concrete, but if they're connected with a specific human who has specific insight or specific things for that person, that I found that to be helpful.
That's so great. Thank you so much for offering that, Julia. I saw a lot of people nodding. So it sounds like your advice hit home for a lot of people. One of the things we talk about in the course is how all of this is relational, right? And every time Teddy, another member of the collective who is not featured in the course, says often that it's not about trying to avoid mistakes, because we're all going to make mistakes. We're all human beings. That's the nature of being human. What it's about is how we recover, how we repair. That's the thing that actually makes or breaks us as people of faith in particular. And so when it comes to something like this, where you've got someone who had a crummy experience, perhaps a visitor, I think that the main thing that you can do is to just not completely ghost them, right? To keep checking in and saying, I just wanted to see how you're doing. We still care, particularly if it's someone who's been a longtime member of the congregation. I hear all the time from trans people and other people with marginalized identities that they stopped going to church and no one reached out. And I think that's true for a lot of people who stopped going to church in general. I just happen to talk most with people who have marginalized identities. But it sucks for anyone if you stop being part of a community, or even if you give a community a try a couple times and then don't come back and no one seems to care. So just offering that care is usually one of the best things that you can do. And that person, you don't know the impact of that on that person. They might leave and not come back for a long time. They might hate UUism for a couple years, and then down the line, they might give it another try because of your steady presence and efforts to connect. So I really appreciated that advice, Julie. I hope all of that's helpful.
And thank you, Arlen, for offering a vulnerable and curious moment. I
Yes.
saw Carrie Holly Hurt's hand, and I want to invite you to come back, Carrie, if you'd like to share. But I also want to lift up Carrie Stewart's. We are blessed with Carrie's. I want to lift up Carrie Stewart's comment. There's that binary about, the heart and the head, right? We contain multitudes. And I often experience have experienced where when I'm trying to highlight as a minister for people that a thing that we haven't done that much really is important. Like I've been in the pulpit and I've said, you don't have to be an expert to go to the legislature. You don't have to know everything and be an expert. And then someone will come up to me and is like, I am an expert. Do you not want me? So it's hard. But remembering to resist the binary as much as we possibly can and hold space for all kinds of ways of being. And that's a lot of what this trans inclusion program brings home for us.
Right. Really what it is none of us are experts in what it means to be radically welcoming, because all of us are just practitioners, right? We're just practicing. It is a spiritual practice. So if you're looking to be an expert before you can open your mouth, you're going to be waiting a really long time and you're going to be missing out on some really amazing relationships.
Amen. All right, Carrie Holly Hurt, are you still with us with your question or comment?
Yeah. I guess my comment is I just wanted to thank you so much, Alex, and please send my love to Michael too. I got to do this 3 times as a facilitator.
Oh my goodness, that's more than me.
It was super powerful. I did 2 during session, and so capital by day, trans inclusion by night, and it was just so hopeful. Like it was hopeful because the people that I was working with were eager to learn and open-hearted, and we are also very imperfect, but our love is so powerful. And I think that is what has really helped me to not burn out this session, was to do that and to go, okay, this is horrible. What is happening in Texas is horrible, but like the relationships that we are building, the compassion, it's like we're cultivating all this compassion and love. And just, I don't know. I find every time I write a sermon, I know y'all are in there because I find so much hope from y'all. So thank you.
So thank you so much for sharing that. That means so much to hear.
Thank you, Carrie. And just a shout out again to all the seminarians and guest speakers who are part of our guild and who are taking the experiences on learning both at the Capitol and in the programs and in their congregations and in their own lives. It's impossible. I don't know how Reverend Chuck tried to go visit all the congregations, just him. And so I thank you for the team that includes Carrie. Thank you. Other folks who have comments or questions, and I really want you all to know what a special opportunity it is to get to talk with Alex. I know we have people here who have done the program and are wondering what now. And then we have people who maybe haven't had the capacity or haven't been able to get it going yet. So you can feel free to ask logistical questions like what now, or, you know, spiritual, whatever else is coming up. But
or you could be like, no, Alex, I really, really do want to know the definition of genderqueer. No judgment, maybe a little, but I would still welcome the question.
We'll let people think for a second. Here's
Orlin just asked in the chat, I saw this session was being recorded. Would it be possible to share parts of the recording on our congregation's website? I think that's a question for you, Erin.
Yes, I will follow up with you all about the recordings, and happy for it to be shared widely.
Awesome. Go ahead, Julia.
I don't want to like take over space if someone else has a question because I was already talking. But I was wondering like if you are thinking, or if I don't know exactly what I'm asking, but like using this framework to talk with UU congregations about other marginalized identities as well, because I think like what's special about like this curriculum is that it's like kind of what you're saying, it's more than just like the 101. And like we're talking at First Austin right now about doing frankly some more like 101 sessions, and I'm like, I don't wanna like honestly. And so like using a framework like this, or like if you see like a path forward to bring in more education.
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the things that we hoped for with this program is that people would get to the end and we throw a lot of possibilities at you at the end. We throw a lot of tools for congregational change for folks to like chew on and think about and talk about and try to implement in their congregations. You're not going to do the implementation in this course necessarily unless you're doing it in a particularly interesting way, which I'm sure is possible, but I haven't seen it happen. You're going to get a lot of stuff you can then use, but you have to then use it. And I think our hope was that people would use it in ways that were expansive, that were sort of, Michael and I are really big fans of experiential stuff when it comes to this kind of thing, and not just doing 101 over and over again, even though we believe in bringing people with, right? So this program is a good example of that. It is experiential. It is not a 101, but we do provide 101 level resources so that people can feel like they can keep up and that they're not, hopefully, it seems to be working, but that's the plan. And I will say that we've been in the process of working on another program for a while now, and we are ramping up that work. And that program will look very different. So don't hold out on doing this program because you're hoping for a better one. It will be great, but it will be very different. And we are looking to have that program be super encompassing, and really much more broad, when it comes to helping people dig into the interstices, the like, what are the skills we need, regardless of the kind of difference that we are struggling with, engaging with, or being in relationship with, if that makes sense. That's super vague. Sorry for vague booking at you. But stay tuned.
That's great.
Stay tuned. And please do consider, how to use those tools that we throw at you in session 6 in ways that go far beyond transness, right? Because that's really what they're for. And you can pair the program, like we think that this program, for example, pairs really well with Beloved Conversations, for example. Congregations that have gone through Beloved Conversations take our program next and benefit from it, and vice versa. So if you have done this program and you're looking for your next step, I recommend that one extremely. It's a very good next thing to do that will help you keep deepening that knowledge.
Alex, you saw me come off mute. That was what I was going to say.
I saw you do this.
And so I was like, Beloved Conversations. So folks, the next round of Beloved Conversations will start in the winter, and you can do it with your congregation. You can do it as an individual. It's online. Yours truly is a coach.
Yes.
So I will recommend that you get a coach who isn't me, so you can learn from new and different people. But it's such a good program, and TXUUJM does have some scholarship money. So if you look at it and cost is a barrier, please reach out to us. I would love to see a lot of Texas folks in Beloved Conversations. So thank you, Alex, for
Such a good
putting that in
program.
there. Can I
Absolutely.
invite Jan's question and then Carrie, since we haven't heard from Jan yet, and we'll do about maybe 10 more minutes of this really rich Q&A, and then we'll look at 2024, and then we'll just have some social hang after that. So be thinking about any other questions or comments you have for Alex. Jan, you're up.
Hi everybody. Hi, Alex. I realized when I put in the chat, it's so good to see you, Alex, that Z doesn't realize, pardon me, but you don't realize that I saw you a lot and you didn't see me. But
It's true.
anyway, and one of the reasons I say that is because you look different, like you've grown in ways that are suit you, and you look very happy even though you're having a cold, and I'm so pleased to see that. I
promise I don't usually sound like this.
Well, it's not a bad sound. It's a good
Thank
sound.
you.
Two comments about the course. One of our congregants, who's been a leader in our congregation for a long time, was on the course with me. This was my first time, and she said that this was her third time, and she just got so much out of it every time. It really made a huge difference. So I wanted to pass that along to you.
That's amazing.
And then the other thing, just how things affected me. I felt like I sort of was able to keep up with the course until the sixth one, because there was so much packed in there that I didn't have time to process. And I don't know if that's helpful to you or not, but I just feel like I need to go back and look at that again, and what am I going to do about that, and how am I going to make sure that I can operate based on that rather than my natural clumsiness. So just wanted to pass that on to you. I don't know if that's something you had heard before or not.
I mean, I'm extremely aware that we packed too much into session 6. We couldn't help ourselves. We wanted it to be as resource rich as possible. So we hope that people will take what's useful and leave what's not, and return to it, like you said, because there is so much packed in there. I feel a little bad about it. I was editing that video and I was like, I'm getting rid of every because I needed it to be within the parameters that we had set. Whereas like session 2 is very spacious, and we're just going off on tangents and stuff like that. They're very different for those who haven't experienced it, but I'm delighted to hear that, and I hope that is something that you could do to go back to it.
But mainly, I want to say thank you for doing this. It's made a big difference for me personally, and I think for a lot of people in our congregation.
I'm so glad. Thank you. What you got, Carrie?
So I have a really small thing that I did do already. So you know how when you go to church on Sunday and everybody's sitting on the ends and the middle is open? So that happened last Sunday, and we were a little late, and I was a little frustrated, but anyway, I found a seat, and I thought, this is really an inclusiveness issue, because especially for new folks coming in, and if they're nervous or not sure how they're going to be welcomed, the last thing they want to do is crawl over people, right, to find somewhere to sit. So I dashed off an email and I said, hey, this is a welcoming and inclusiveness issue, but maybe it's time for a message from the pulpit or the greeters to mention, try to move into the centers of the pews. Anyway, and I got an email right back saying, great idea. So,
hey, look at that. Amazing. I mean, that's exactly what we're talking about, though. Like, this is one of the things that we talk about in the course, hopefully for better and not for worse. I don't know how strong this message comes across, but we tried to be like, there's little stuff that we really desperately need that is just as important as the big stuff. We need both, right? I think sometimes we get stuck because we're trying to do one or the other, and both can feel very hard and insurmountable. A lot of, even the little stuff is just like, you know, we all know the people in church who are going to complain about the fact that the font got changed in the newsletter, right? Like that's, sometimes the little stuff is just as hard to change as the big stuff. But what we say in the program is, you know, if you're dealing with what we call the above the surface of the water, the iceberg above the surface, the obvious stuff, like pronouns, like bathrooms, you know, those sorts of things, and you're not simultaneously attending to the big picture stuff that's under the surface, that's when things go sideways, right? So the stuff that's under the surface are people's expectations, their norms. They're like, this is how we do things here, right? The way we do things here is fill in the blank. Pat always makes the coffee. That's how we do things here. And when you start challenging that, if you aren't attending to people's expectations and norms and sort of bracketing that, and it's really a pastoral issue, right? That could be anything from people having feelings about grammar when it comes to they and them as a pronoun, to people having, you know, fears related to bathrooms, to people sort of soaking up a lot of this anti-trans rhetoric that is so rampant in our wider world right now. Like there's all this whole range of ways in which people could be manifesting concerns around change and more inclusion when it comes to trans people in particular. So that's why it's really important to identify those small-ish things, the sort of checklist type things, and then at the same time be talking, like you said, Carrie, about like, what's the message from the pulpit? How are we actually communicating about this? What are the pastoral care needs involved in this? Because all of us matter. If Bob is having feelings about the font in the newsletter, what's that really about? What's actually under the surface when somebody is reacting negatively to pronouns or to bathrooms or to, you know, this sort of anti-trans rhetoric? So thank you for bringing that up, because I think I don't want anyone to get the wrong impression that we don't need to be working on multiple fronts. There are very basic things that I think we need to do as congregations to increase the welcome and belonging that people feel, whether they're people who've been coming for years and years or people who are attending for the first time. And everything we do makes a difference. Everything you do, even though there's so much more to do, is something that could potentially save a life right now. And so I just want you to know that what you're doing really, really, really matters. Even though there's so much more room to grow. That's just the way it is, right? So thank you for that. And thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alex. One of the things we know is that some of us are more comfortable raising our hands or speaking in Zoom or in an in-person gathering than others. And so I want to allow some quiet time in case anybody is working up the courage or just thinking about how they want to phrase their question or their comment to Alex. We'll just take a little quiet time and you can raise your hand when it comes to you. Michelle, thank you.
Yeah, and I feel like I've taken up a bit of space tonight, so I don't want to take too much more. But I did want to mention that, first of all, I had put it in the chat, but Alex being able to co-facilitate this, the trans inclusion program was one of the biggest joys for me this past year, and was just so enriching and just absolutely amazing how multifaceted it was and how deep it went and how it really broke open our hearts. So thank you for that. The other part, and I see Carrie, oh my gosh, she was my co-facilitator and she's just amazing, amazing. It really was beautiful to be able to deepen our relationship while we did this together. The other part I wanted to mention to our members is that I had a conversation with Reverend Michael Crumpler, who is, I forget all the titles, but works for the LGBTQ and multicultural office for the UUA. And one of the things that's under his umbrella is the Welcoming Congregations program. And the Welcoming Congregations program is a certification program that congregations have for being welcoming towards LGBTQ plus and more. And one of the things that has been noticed is that people did the program in the 90s and have done nothing to renew it. And that's not how the program works. And that's part of the reason why a lot of our trans folks are still feeling very uncomfortable and not fully welcomed in our spaces. So to renew, it has like 5 practices that you have to do within a 12-month period. And again, this isn't about checking off boxes, but it's about deepening and being in relationship. And it has things like, speaking on LGBTQ issues from the pulpit, things that are nourishing to LGBTQ communities. So worship services, supporting a welcoming project, but also doing welcoming religious education. And the trans inclusion program is one of the programs that you can use to get that renewal of your welcoming congregations curriculum and certification. So that's another bonus that our Texas congregations have by being in relationship with Transforming Hearts Collective and having access to this program. So I really, really encourage y'all to hop on and do this program if you haven't already. And keep doing it because there's so much more to learn.
Thank you so much, Michelle. That's such a good point.
Go for it,
Sandy.
Andy. Yeah.
Oh, me?
Yes, sorry, we spoke at the same time.
It's all right. Alex, it's so nice to meet you. I feel like I know you, and because I saw you on video so much.
You know me without facial hair.
Yes, yeah. We went through the whole 6 sessions with like 20 people from our congregation
Awesome.
in the spring, and it was fabulous. We had a great experience, and we created a task force after it around radical welcome. And what we found, especially just recently, is that it's really the transgender and non-binary people. Yes, we're focused on that, but it's going to go so much deeper because we started looking at the intersections with differently abled people, with families and different types of families, and biological and non-traditional, and the cultures. And then we started talking about age and, the different aspects of how age comes into play, and socioeconomic class. And we even started talking about physical size, like body sizes, and that our chairs were kind of too small in some cases. We needed to look at. So there's little things, and then there's those really big things. And I just wanted to kind of raise that up because we're still trying to figure out what's seen and unseen. It's going to be a journey for us. But I feel really energized and excited. This really kind of got us pulled together in a way that we hadn't been pulled together before. So kudos, man.
Yay. That's so great. And what a wonderful example of something that you can do building on the program is to start a task force made up of folks who went through it. That's so awesome and so inspiring. Another thing that I would that gives me a lot of hope and excitement is when congregations are actively talking to each other. And you all are perfectly primed to do that. So because a lot of you went through this together through TXUUJM, so take advantage of the relationships you have between congregations thanks to your relationship with TXUUJM. And when something happens in your congregation, you're like, we're really struggling with this particular thing, or something popped up, or we're not sure what to do about X. lean on each other. Find out if other people have had a similar situation, because that's the best way that I have found. I've never tried to do this in a congregation. I have a lot of wisdom because I've worked with a lot of congregations, but you all know more about what it's like on the ground when stuff starts to go sideways, or you have an opportunity and you don't know how to take advantage of it, that kind of stuff. So please do stay in relationship and talk to each other about this and get vulnerable with those sorts of things. Makes a big difference.
Great.
Thank you,
That
Sandy.
was just inspired by your comment, Sandy, is not actually in response to it, but I'm just very excited
Okay. No,
about what
it's
you're
perfect.
doing. Thank you for
I
sharing.
agree, 100%.
Thank you all so much. And Alex, respecting your time, I'm going to let Arwen's question or comment be the last one. And then those of you who might have more questions or comments, we can discuss them and entertain them after our sharing. We have some save the dates and some important things to share with you about 2024 that I don't want you to miss. But we will keep recording as well. And Arwen, I turn it over to you.
I'll be so quick, I promise. I just wanted to say, as a genderqueer person that was deeply raised UU and bridged last summer, and I am currently struggling in so many ways with how I stay involved with my faith and the spaces where I do and don't feel welcomed as a young person, as a genderqueer person, in all the ways. The work that you're doing is really incredible, and it's making a really big difference in like real lives on the ground for people like me. So I just want to say I appreciate it so much.
Yay! Yeah. Fellow Raise UU genderqueers for the win. I hope you'll reach out. Friend me on Facebook if you're on Facebook. I know that's an old
I
person
totally
thing.
will.
Okay, great.
I love Facebook. I'm the only one
Awesome.
in my peer group, but I love Facebook.
See, I don't know if that's a UU thing. Maybe it is. I'm like a boomer, even though I'm not. I'm a millennial, but I'm actually a boomer. It's great.
Oh, Arwen, we love you. And that was the perfect last comment for this. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being a part of our crew. Alex, thank you so much. Everyone, I just want to emphasize again, we chose this program because it is about dismantling white supremacy culture in all the ways. Trans inclusion is a piece of that radical welcome, but it speaks to all of the issues that you have voted on that we care about. Racial justice, environmental justice, healthcare access, democracy, and the other one, economic justice, all interwoven together. And the tools of this program speak to that. And it's not just this year. We invited Alex to be here because we wanted to celebrate what a powerful year it was to be doing this spiritual work, this community work together whilst showing up at the Capitol, whilst calling and emailing. And so there's just so many reasons why we're so thankful to have Alex kind of celebrate this year. And it's just the beginning. It's just the beginning. Thank you so much, Alex. Thank you to Reverend Michael Slack. Thank you to all I see a lot of volunteers on this call who have facilitated the program. I see donors on this call. I see participants on this call, our board, our advisory council. All of you have made this really life-changing program a part of the fabric of the Texas UU Justice Ministry this year. So thank you. Can we do some celebratory sounds or moves for Alex? Woo! Yay!
I didn't know that's where that was going. I was like, yeah, TXUUJM.
You're a part of us. You're a part of us.
Yes. Awesome.
I have a question. It doesn't seem like we can, there's all these great links and stuff in the chat, but I don't see a way to save it. Yeah.
Lisa, I will absolutely gather up the links in the chat and send those in an email of appreciation tomorrow to everybody who registered.
Oh, sweet. Okay, thanks so much.
You're so welcome. Thank you for being one of our facilitators. You rock.
Oh, it was a fantastic experience. Yeah, I'd love to do it again. Yeah.
Awesome. We can make that happen because the program is for our congregations in perpetuity. Okay, Alex, thank you again. Let's talk about 2024, friends. This was a really big year. And again, the celebration that we do tonight is to keep us inspired and in the work, not to erase the fact that there have also been things that are very, very hard. And I just want to name that we continue in this work even as things are hard, and we take care of each other. So looking forward to 2024. If we can move on down the road. All right. We are excited to work with you on more youth spaces, more BIPOC gatherings. Our relationship with Drum is growing. That's Diverse Revolutionary UU Multicultural Ministries. We are so thankful for that relationship. And again, if you are in the greater Houston area, or you want to take a road trip to Houston and you are a BIPOC UU, that gathering is this Saturday, and we'd love you to be there. If there are youth in your congregations or young adults in your congregations that you want to get engaged with this work, we want to hear from you. We are working on plans for next year. Let's slide forward. Okay, UU the Vote. We didn't even talk about the incredible work that you and your State Action Network did in UU the Vote, because that was 2022, but 2024 is coming. And the work that you did in 2022, the postcard captains, the folks doing all the calling and the texting, you built relationships that have now been doing the work in 2023. One of the postcard captains from Central Texas, who also spends time in West Texas, Kathleen, has been working with leaders in El Paso, in Lubbock, in starts with an M. Oh, maybe. Anyway, I've lost some of my towns, but she's been working with West Texas on reproductive justice organizing. And we, Midland, thank you. I'm only a native Texan who's been to Midland, but it's a lot. We're 5 states, you guys, remember that. Okay, so Sarah Burrell-Harrop, our phenomenal intern minister here at TXUUJM in year 2, who has acted as our UU the Vote leader, will hold space on Thursday, January 18th from 6 to 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. You see it on the slide. I encourage you to put it on your calendar. That's going to be a place to pop in. We're not saying you need to be there for 2 hours. Pop into the Zoom, talk about what you want to do with UU the Vote and democracy work in 2024 with your congregation, with your justice ministry. We're going to start planning early for the election. So you see that on the slide, January 18th. It'll come to your email as well. Stay tuned, but put that on your calendar. Oh, we are so excited. We thought We Cry Justice might end when we finished the book, We Cry Justice. So that's the group that's been meeting with our Texas Poor People's Campaign partners at 6 o'clock Central every Thursday. Well, they didn't want to stop meeting. And we love the relationships that have been built between our organizations, between the people in the group. And so Sarah asked what they would like to do. And so you see here, we're going to move to the 4th Thursdays, same time, 6 p.m., but we're going to move to monthly. And we have a series of 3 books from Beacon Press, our UU Press, that we're going to read. Those of you who are on our advisory council or who've been engaged in this work know that we've been taking surveys of our congregations. We've been taking input from our BIPOC circles. We've been taking input from our partners to craft our goals and our priorities for the coming years. But some of the things that are very, very clear from those conversations before we even announce what they are, I can tell you that reproductive justice and abolition, issues of policing and incarceration, those 2 are very, very important to us. And so we have 2 books that speak to that, as well as on repentance and repair. Sarah, would you like to say a little bit more?
The On Repentance and Repair is a UUA common read this year.
Yeah.
And so that's one of the reasons why we're reading that. And what I would say is that this is really an opportunity for us to connect our activism to our values, and to connect what we're doing outside with our congregations, with secular organizations, to our spiritual growth and development. And so I'm really excited that we're going to be able to continue on. And on the next slide, you'll see why we chose Trust Women as well. And just really excited to do this, to continue to hold space for this this theological reflection.
Absolutely. And so if you celebrate any holidays that involve gift giving, you might think about asking for these books or giving these books. And you might think about ordering them from your Unitarian Universalist bookstore online. I want to thank Sarah again for the deep work of holding space with this group, with our partner, Jim Crosby, and that relationship. And I'm so glad that this program will continue and just pivot into monthly, which I think is going to be great for folks. So stay tuned to your emails to sign up for that. All right, let's see what else for 2024. Sarah, I'm going to let you speak to this one too.
Yeah, so this is through the partnership with Texas Impact, but this is the author of the Trust Women book. And apparently, as Reverend Erin mentioned, Kathleen is really, really engaged with reproductive justice issue. And she got so excited when she was like, oh, you have Dr. Rebecca Todd Peters? Her book is wonderful. And so the way that it's timed is that we will be able to read the first section of the book before we actually get to hear her. So Texas Impact and Friends UCC and Bryan College Station is hosting her on Saturday, February, or I'm sorry, it's Sunday, February 11th. I am aware that's when the Southwest Women's Conference is. And apologize for that for those who are going to be in Navasota for that. And it will be about the theology of reproductive justice. So she's going to speak. We're going to have breakout groups. It will be virtual as well as in person. And so if you know ICE is an issue or distance is an issue, then you can be virtual. And actually Lubbock is going to have another event in March. I believe the date is not fully set. And so essentially we can have sort of the first half of the year been really deeply thinking about reproductive justice and our values and how we can live our values out in the public square on this issue.
Thank you, Sarah. And thank you to Texas Impact. For those who are not familiar with how that relationship works, I serve on the board of Texas Impact, and Reverend Chuck served on the board before me. And in the same way that your congregations are members of the Texas UU Justice Ministry. And so we have our collective power, our collective spiritual grounding and relationships and work. Texas Impact is the interfaith progressive advocacy organization. And so we are part of them as the Justice Ministry. So we're all part together. And one more for Sarah, who is helping to shape with us a ritual, a routine of in-person gatherings. I'll let her say it in a minute, but just that on the odd years this year, we invite you to Austin because the legislature is in session. Invite is a nice word, right? But we gather in Austin because there's a lot of work at the legislature. And on the even years, our intention now, based on what a wonderful experience we had with our 10-year and having it in a congregation, is that we will rotate on the even years and have our statewide gathering at different TXUUJM congregations and in different regions. So it may take a few years, but we will get to your region where we're rotating around the state. And so we are going to gather at First U Dallas on March 23rd. Sarah, do you want to say a little bit more?
Just that this is a really important opportunity to get together, and also to get people who may not engage because they're not connected to Austin, they don't travel. And so we really want to be able to be face to face with our constituents and invite our constituents into the work. So that yeah, I guess that's it. I would say about that. Just watch your emails about it, because it's going to be a very exciting gathering.
Yes, Sarah's been in conversation and planning with one of the ministers at First Dallas, and we are looking forward to telling you kind of how that gathering is going to take shape. But think of it, you know, it may not be obviously exactly like what we did for the 10th anniversary, because that was a particular anniversary celebration, but as our statewide gathering again on the even years. And so I hope you'll put that date on your calendar. And again, stay tuned to your emails when we return from study leave and holidays in January, Saturday, March 23rd. Thank you. Let's see what's left. Did we cover it all? We did. We did. That's just some of what we have to look forward to in 2024. We will also be announcing what's next for Action Hour. But right now, your staff and the volunteers and the leaders, we're just going to celebrate with you. We're going to exhale. In December, we will do some internal work on our systems. We'll be reaching out to thank our donors. We'll be doing some of the things that are hard to do when there's 4 special sessions on top of a very intense main session. So you won't be getting out as many emails from us in December, but we'll be back in January. And we're wishing you a beautiful time of rest. I'm looking at my run of show to see. Yeah. So we basically have time left for visiting, and I will offer a closing benediction when we're really done. But it feels like a good time to let you all ask any other questions that might be on your mind, or share into the group if there's anything else before we truly close out. I just thank you all so much for your work this year and for being here tonight when we know that there's a lot going on. There's a lot going on. And so we thank you for being here. Anybody else have questions or things to share before we close out?
Can I just say my gratitude? I'm just so grateful. So very grateful.
I want to say I'm glad I tuned in and got to meet so many people engaged in this work. And it's encouraging out here in West Texas.
Thank you for being here. I think gratitude is a great way to close out the year. Does anybody else want to offer gratitude either to specific folks on this call or about anything in particular? I invite you to just come off mute and share your gratitude.
Yeah, there's several folks on here that are local to Austin and others that are not local to Austin, but still made the journey to the Capitol so many times, and just appreciate you showing up. And our community partners also have mentioned how appreciative they are of your presence there in support and in solidarity. So thank you for that. I also want to thank the host congregations for our BIPOC gatherings. Y'all have been amazing. I think Jane just hopped off, but another great joy has been not only the BIPOC gatherings, those have been just amazing, but also I get to hang out the following day to go to Sunday service at the host congregation, and it's been so wonderful to get to spend time with y'all, like Joel and Sandy, and get to like give you actual hugs in person. So just appreciate that time together and getting some in-person time.
I just want to say, I think this team, this Texas UU Justice team is really amazing. Erin and Michelle and Sarah, and I know there's others here. Dana did some stuff, and probably other people I'm not remembering, but I know you guys, and I know what all you've been doing, and it's been amazing. I'm just grateful we have you in Texas. Yay. We need it.
I think going off of that, I want to say thank you to Erin. Being at the Capitol was really scary a lot of times, and you were always a face that was always there in all of the scary moments. And you made it feel a lot safer with your joy and with your words and with the way that you just really looked out for every single person. And then checking in afterwards and just like all the things. Thank you so, so much.
And Arwen and I were just texting. Arwen was like, okay, I'm going to do it for Erin. You want to do it for Michelle? I was like, yes. So to sort of basically copy paste what Arwen just said, but for Michelle, there was a lot of, among some of the younger folks who were at the Capitol repeatedly, especially during the regular session, there was a lot of jokes about Erin and Michelle and some of the other UUs being Capitol moms for a bunch of us, always coming to find us, always coming to check in, always whenever something would happen, coming to give us a hug. Even when we were just fine, being like, do you need anything? We're here. Do you want a hug? Do you need? And so just like so much gratitude for you, Michelle, as well. I think that like it was, like Arwen said, definitely very intense to be there. And Arwen and I have been involved in like plenty of other political stuff, but that was probably some of the most emotionally intense and like at times like physically very like, oh, I'm scared for my physical safety right now. And I think having like you there was just this like constant presence of like, it's all okay because Michelle is here.
We love y'all.
Yeah, love you both so much. Truly.
I want to express my gratitude.
Go ahead, Nancy.
I just want to say I really appreciate not only the staff and support, but all of you who've shared your experiences. This is my first time as a social action leader, you might say, in our congregation. And I just really appreciate all of you and your support for everything. Thank you.
Thank you, Nancy. We have really been thinking of you and everybody in Plano. Thank you for taking on that role as well. Well, it's an honor and a joy and a responsibility that I take very seriously, even though I'm known for maybe a less serious countenance sometimes. But I do that to, I don't know, offset the deep seriousness with which I take our role as Unitarian Universalists in Texas, our role as human beings caring for each other, and doing this work with all of you. I mean, that is a call like no other. And I was on a call on Monday night with religious leaders around the country talking about a lot of the issues that we've been talking about here tonight. And there's no way that people can really understand what it's like to do this in Texas. They are thinking of us and sending love, and we are hope and inspiration for a lot of people. And we know that what happens in Texas doesn't stay in Texas. But I need you all to know how very, very important you are and how very, very loved you are by people you know and people you don't know. And I just thank you so much. I'll never have enough words for what it means, the commitment that you all have made. And I know that we are just getting started in some ways. This is 2 years for me this month as the executive director and the minister of the State Action Network. And it is very much my goal to take care of myself so I can stay in the work. And I hope you will take care of yourselves and us take care of each other so we can all stay in it. So I thank you, and I'm going to move us into a benediction. It's 8:23. Time flies when you're with people you love doing important things. So I invite you to connect with your ancestors, your God, your divine, your sacred inner voice, that which you call holy. And take a breath with me. Divine, of many names, that speaks to us in silence and in the voices of thousands in our halls of power, that sings to us in nature and holds us in our deepest griefs and fears. Thank you for these people, for the mission and the work of the Texas UU Justice Ministry, which is a sacred one, when we do with joy, and when we keep a vision for when someday we are all free together, we are all radically welcome together, and we can set this work down. We need that vision, and we know that it's not coming in our lifetime, but we can do our part. So I give thanks, and I ask that everyone here and all of our siblings in this work, our partners, our congregations, our ministers, our staff, our children, our great grandparents, everyone we can imagine in the circle of love and justice that is so wide we will never see its horizon, hold us safe and well as we enter a time of sacred rest. And we look forward to when we can be together again. Amen and blessed be. Thank you all again. Thank you to the staff for your work.